So I was in YouTube the other day and I was watching like a tier list video. You know, the ones that like rank all the way from like the best YouTube boxers to the things you can shove up. What? Well, you know what I mean. So it got me thinking, why don't I make one for real estate wholesaling software? We all use these softwares, maybe not all of them at the same time, but you definitely use a few. So why not discuss which are the best softwares and which are very crucial for your business. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the real estate wholesaling software tier list. There are two criteria for this tier list. Number one, it has to be a software that I've personally used so that I can actually have an opinion on it. And number two, the ranking will be based on how much it costs and how much value does it bring to you. And on top of the tier list, I will also talk about how to utilize the softwares and when to go for the cheaper one or for the free one or when it makes sense to upgrade. So let's get right into it. Okay, so as you can see down here, I have a lot of different softwares. So we're gonna talk about it. First, we're gonna start with texting softwares. When it comes to texting software, I've used pretty much all of them because texting has been and is my most used way of marketing. And also when it comes to texting, I'm not only gonna rate the texting, but also their skip tracing and other services that platform offers. Batch leads, decent texting and decent skip tracing. In my opinion, their skip tracing software is good. It's not as good as the other ones, but it's integrated already in the texting platform. When I used Batch, we did get a lot of deals, but that was in the beginning of Batch. Then they had to introduce the opt-out messages and things like that. So a lot of things were happening with texting. Batch is a good software. It's not maybe the top-notch software, but if you're using it, there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm gonna place it right in good software. The next one we have is Smarter Contact. So Smarter Contact, in my opinion, is one of the best texting platforms out there. I think that they offer a lot of good variety of things that a lot of other softwares don't. Like for example, if you're working in different markets, you can easily purchase phone numbers for that particular market, while in Lead Sherpa and Launch Control, you actually have to pay a lot more money. And what I mean a lot, that in Smarter Contact, you can buy like a $2 phone number and then you're in a different market. And in Lead Sherpa and Launch Control, you have to pay about $150 to $200, depending on the software, to actually use in a different market. So in my opinion, Smarter Contact is pretty good for a certain type of investor, especially if you're working in different markets. And I mean that in different counties, you want to use different zip codes and things like that. So Smarter Contact, in my opinion, is the best in that. So personally for me, Smarter Contact is an everyday staple because we do use it every single day that we work. And also I tried all the other texting platforms and none of them do what I need them to do, even though there's a couple other ones that are pretty good as well. So I'm gonna put Smarter Contact on everyday staple. Okay, so this one could be a controversial one, REA Reply. So I know a lot of people love REA Reply. In the amount of people that use it, the amount of people that talk about it. And obviously the reason behind it is because it's $50. When you have a $50 platform that can text and do a lot of different things, of course people are very attracted to it. And because it's not only just a texting platform, and you can create a website there, they have pretty decent drip campaigns and things like that. The issue with REA Reply, they actually are not very well compliant with a lot of rules out there. And if you really think about it, anything that you do in life, everything that you purchase in life, if it's cheaper, it doesn't mean better. I had to kind of learn it the hard way throughout my life, but I think cheaper is not better. And in this situation, it's the case as well. So, you know, a $50 platform will not give you the results and may get you in legal action problems because they don't do their due diligence. They would have to spend much more money to do things correctly, and obviously that money has to come from somewhere. It has to come from us as customers. So if you really kind of tie it up together, REA Reply is kind of okay if you think about it. Oh, like, you know, let me start on it, let me try the $50 texting. The situations that you do have to buy Twilio numbers, so you're gonna pay an extra Twilio texting costs. So honestly, if you compare it to like Lead Sherpa or Smarter Contact or Launch Control or any of those other apps, you will not be saving much money. You may actually be losing if you're doing big volume. I mean, if you're sending 1,000 texts a month, of course you're gonna save with REA Reply. But if you're doing 1,000 texts a month, you're probably not really gonna get any deals anytime soon. So that's just something that I did want to mention. So in my opinion, REA Reply isn't the worst software, but honestly, if you do have a little bit of money, stay away from the software. I used it too. I actually had videos breaking down the auto reply, but little did I know that they're not compliant with a lot of rules. I didn't know it back then, now I know it, so I don't utilize it anymore. So auto reply in my eyes are gonna go to not necessary. The next one is Lead Sherpa. Lead Sherpa is a very sorry texting platform. In my opinion, it's the #2 texting platform, offers smarter contact. There's nothing really much I can add to it. Their skip tracing is really good, so I'm definitely gonna put them on top of very useful. As you can see here, I don't really have any skip tracing platforms besides the texting ones that already have skip tracing in them, but the only one I do have is skipmatrix. Skipmatrix is truly, in my opinion, one of the best skip tracing platforms out there, just a standalone skip tracing platform, and it's really good. Are there other ones that you could use as well? Yes, but I do think that skipmatrix is very vital for your business if you're trying to run a long-term wholesale business. So I'm actually going to put skip tracing on top of very useful. I do think it's a little more important than Lead Sherpa, even though Lead Sherpa is great, but you can utilize other texting platforms, but you can get better skip tracing than skipmatrix. The next thing is the realtor.com, Zillow, and Redfin. The reason why I have these here, you would say, oh, well, they're not really wholesaling softwares. Well, they kind of are, because when you are utilizing, you're running comps and you are looking for cash buyers on Zillow, when you are actually looking for on-market leads, if you are a wholesaler that does on-market deals, I think these are very important, and so I'm gonna give you an opinion of which I think are the best. So in my opinion, when it comes to running comps, I like Zillow the most. I know Redfin does it really well as well, but the problem with Redfin, they are not in the entire United States of America. So there's some parts, some counties, some states, whatever, that they're not in. So they're not 100%. So Zillow, in my opinion, is gonna go towards good software. There are some things in Zillow that I would change. I mean, I would want to put it up here, but there's a lot of things on Zillow I don't love. Like, for example, after a certain amount of days, you can't find pictures on Zillow of the properties that were listed there. So that's when I have to utilize realtor.com. I want to put realtor.com in some situations over Zillow, but truly when I really think about it, there's some things I utilize Zillow on and some things I utilize realtor.com on. So I'm gonna put a realtor right here, right next to Zillow. So they're both kind of next to each other. They both do their own thing, but in my opinion, not one of them is not better than the other. Next one is Redfin. I'm gonna put it in comes in handy just because it's not everywhere in the country. I do think it's actually pretty well done. I do like Redfin, but I do think because they're not everywhere, because not all markets are on the Redfin, even though the company has been around forever, is a little bit weird for me. So I'm gonna put a Redfin, comes in handy. It's a good software, but you will get away of using the Zillow and realtor.com without using Redfin. And the next thing is the 3 cold calling softwares that I've personally utilized. There's one more cold calling software that is really good, and apparently it's very widely used, which is batch dialing. I personally never used it, so I decided not to include it in this video because, like I said, I want to have a true opinion about the software. Readymode, if you guys don't know what it is, it's actually used to be called ZenCall, and it's a very widely used dialer. So here's the upsides and downsides of Readymode. Readymode is pricing is very similar to Calltools. It might be a little cheaper, but I think it's about the same price. So let's say you have an agent dialing, Readymode can dial 12 lines at the same time, which is a lot, and it's not really necessary most of the time, but you can. So there's a cool feature that you can do. Calltools has a couple other things, but it also is, you can only dial 10, which is more than enough, and I promise you. I actually truly think that there is a place for Calltools and Readymode out there, so I'm gonna put both of them in good softwares. Then we're gonna go to Mojo. In my opinion, Mojo is probably the least favorite out of all 3. Here's the thing, Mojo only has 1-line dialer or 3-line dialer, and the 1-line dialer is cheaper. I think it's like $80 the last time I used it. So I think that when you're starting off, that's what I used as well because it was the cheapest one. But then I tried to upgrade, and I upgraded to Calltools and Readymode, and I thought that that was much better. So Mojo, in my opinion, comes in handy if you're starting off. Is it the best software to cold call? Absolutely not. So in my opinion, if you do have a couple extra bucks, go ahead and upgrade to Calltools. That's what I use, and that's what I would suggest to everyone to use. Okay, so the next thing we have is email marketing software. So I have here Constant Contact and I have Woodpecker. There are a bunch of other ones out there, but like I said, I've never utilized them, so we're not gonna talk about those. When it comes to Constant Contact, it's really good to market to buyers that you already got the emails from. I do think that's a really good thing to have for that. It's not too expensive. So in my opinion, Constant Contact comes in handy. Not necessary for your business, but if you do have a lot of buyers, and hopefully you do, Constant Contact would be a really good way to market to those buyers. So we're gonna put Constant Contact comes in handy. It's not a bad software, but I wouldn't suggest buying it or getting it if you don't have a lot of buyers or don't have their emails. Okay, so next one is Woodpecker. And in my opinion, Woodpecker is a really, really good way of marketing to sellers. I love using it, and I think it does what it needs to do. And you know, they don't block you for adding emails that don't work and things like that, because it sends emails directly from your Gmail or your Yahoo or whatever it is. So if it's directly from your email account. So in my opinion, Woodpecker is really good. I would definitely put it in good software. It's pretty funny that we have such a lot of good softwares, and it's true. You know, a lot of softwares that I've used, I wouldn't say they're bad or fantastic. A lot of them are good, and a lot of them could be used for certain things. So now we have DocuSign and HelloSign. So DocuSign is what I use. HelloSign is what a lot of people use. It's a little cheaper than DocuSign. I think it's like by $5-6. It's not much, but obviously that's a month. But in my opinion, I tried using HelloSign because I wanted to see if it makes sense to save a little bit a year. You know, that could be $60-70 savings a year when I was starting off. But I do think that there were some few features I couldn't remember when I was making this video. When I was thinking about making this video, I couldn't remember what features in HelloSign I didn't like, but I do remember for sure that I was like, this is missing in HelloSign. It wasn't it, and it was things that were important for me. And no, that may not help this video, but truly HelloSign, in my opinion, is not bad. But in my opinion, DocuSign is better. So actually I'm gonna put HelloSign, and comes in handy, and DocuSign in very useful. I mean, I use it almost every day when we send contracts to sellers or the buyers, and it's very user-friendly, and it's pretty good with what it does. DealMachine used to be a software you can text from as well, but right now you can only drive for dollars and send mail and marketing from there. From what DealMachine does, it's actually a really good software. I don't do a lot of mail marketing, so it doesn't make sense personally for me. So, but I would like to put DealMachine in good software because I think it's really, really good. I actually may even put it a little bit at the top of the good software. Let's put it right here. I won't say you probably use it more than Zillow and Realtor, but it's a really good software. It does what it needs to do. It's like $100 a month, plus it lets you send mailers and drive for dollars and things like that. But if you're gonna use drive for dollars and you don't use mail marketing, I suggest sticking with Propstream. Propstream, no questions asked, goes on top of #1 as everyday staple, the best software for real estate wholesalers. Honestly, it does everything it needs to do. You can run comps, you can send mailers, you can do skip tracing, you can pull all the data, all kinds of lists. You can do the list of like different type of motivated sellers. So I truly think Propstream is #1 real estate wholesale software out there. I've said it for a long time, and I'm gonna keep saying it because I do think it is the best. Aria Pro, I used it, didn't like it at all. In my opinion, it's not necessary. I don't think it was providing a good info. I remember that land leads were difficult to pull, which that's what most of my business done. So I did not enjoy Aria Pro. I mean, if any of you guys disagree or you want to tell me that something is good about Aria Pro or I reply, you're more than welcome to leave the comments down below. When it comes to list source, I'm gonna put it in bottom of comes in handy. It's almost not necessary, but list source could be handy if you really needed it to be, but it's very, very expensive. The other day I actually wanted to see how much would it cost for me to pull all multifamily properties from this one county that I live in, and to see how much it would be. I think it was like 16 or 20,000 properties, and it was like a crazy amount of money, like $7,000. If you wanted to pull 20, 30, 40 K of properties in Propstream, you actually get 10,000 a month, and then on top of that, if you wanted to pay extra to get all of that in 1 month, you could potentially upgrade it, and I think it's like 2 cents per search. So honestly, it's gonna be like $200. Multiply that by 3, so it's like $600 more than you already paid. So it's not comparing to ListSource at all. I think ListSource does have some lists that might be difficult to find on Propstream, so ListSource can come in handy, but it's a little too expensive, so I don't really suggest it. You can use it. I've tried to use it. I've got lists from it before. Didn't really make a bigger difference between Propstream and ListSource. It was just more expensive on ListSource. Podio. In my opinion, this is a top of very useful. I think that right now we are in the search for a better CRM. Podio is really good for what it does, but I do think that there are better CRMs out there. Right now, Podio is sufficient. However, I do think that, for example, I'm looking into RE Simply and things like that. I'm really curious how those softwares will do for me. I would love to put in Everyday Stable, but there are issues with Podio that sometimes it just makes it complicated to work with. Onlinjobs.ph. This is not particular software. It's more of a website. But truly, if you are trying to scale your business, onlinejobs.ph is definitely going to be very, very useful for your business. This is where you're gonna find the best VAs, in my opinion. I've tried looking at Upwork and Fiverr and places like that. Onlinejobs.ph was and still is the best platform I found for that. So I'm gonna stick with Online Jobs every time I look for a new employee. So if you're looking for a VA, I would suggest going for that. So I'm definitely gonna put it in very useful. And then rentometer. So with rentometer, I'm going to put it in the top of very useful, and I'm going to explain why. And the reason why is that if a lot of you never heard about rentometer, it's a website that where you put an address of a property. It tells you what's the average rent for that area for, you know, that many bed and baths. So with rentometer, we use it every single day. Right now, personally, I mostly invest in multifamily properties besides wholesaling. So I do use rentometer a lot every time we look at a property to understand if it makes sense. If does it have to be, what are the numbers? What's going to be the cash flow? For me to understand the rents, I use 2 things. I use rentometer and Zillow. Rentometer is a little more solid because it actually shows what have been rented, and Zillow can only show what's on the market right now. For that particular thing, no other software that I found does what rentometer does, so I'm going to put rentometer at top of very useful. It's almost an everyday staple, but it can be an everyday staple if you're not really interested in multifamily investing or multifamily wholesaling. So very useful is the place for it. I think I'm very happy with this list. If you guys have any comments you want to make about this list and if you don't agree or you do agree, please leave it down below and let me know. If you guys do like this kind of videos, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully we can make more of these type of videos. If you guys do like it, if I get a good response, I would love to make this kind of videos a little more. And as always, guys, peace.